Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Oh, sorry.
Now I'm getting random phone calls from Watertown, San Diego. Yeah, I'm not answering that. Man, so I got you. We don't get to do this much, but when it's what is it, 37 raining?
Yeah.
Yeah, we ain't on the phone. We're not on the water today.
You
So
don't want to go fishing today?
and I've been a lot lately, like a whole bunch. And
Yeah.
so today I actually had to get some stuff done today. And I'm not going again for like the next 2 days because it's so nasty.
I agree with that.
So you can't let us fishermen have this much time on our hands. It's like bad. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs. I've been over Tackle Warehouse like 5,000
Yeah,
times
but
just looking at things.
But then you start thinking, right? And we start
Yeah.
thinking, and that's the worst thing to let us guys think, because once we get to thinking, then we start coming up with stuff, and then we want to have topics and ideas, and next thing you know, we get off on tangents or whatever. And especially this time of the year, right? Because we just finished up with the elites on Harris Chain. I haven't really paid much attention, although I paid enough attention to what's going on Lake Fork.
Mhm.
We got the Classic next week?
Next week, yeah.
And it's always weird. Like, so every year, and we're the worst about it, right? Fishermen, we're the worst about like the moment, like what's going on in the moment. And then we overanalyze everything going on. And man, what in the world is going to happen this year with fishing? Like, where's it going? Can you?
It's in a real weird place right now.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just from a season standpoint, and I'm just talking strictly how the weather has been this year. It was so hot, so warm this winter. And then now we actually have winters kind of trickling in every once in a while. We'll have some, snows up there in Oklahoma. It's winter again. And it's almost like it confused the fish as to like what's going on. I know when I was at Toho, I had a buddy of mine call me. I only caught one fish on day one. I sucked, just terribly bad. And the fish were in just a weird spot. It was very confusing. And if you look at Harris Chain, it was almost like all those fish had spawned out. Like we were sitting there talking about that was going to be like this huge spawn event. And it turned out to like be a shad spawn / shellbed event. And so like we're kind of in a weird spot right now, but now it's cold again. So like, I don't know. I mean, just from that standpoint alone, and I'm not talking any other thing, it is a very, very, very confusing year. And I don't know where it's going.
And me and Andrew haven't talked about this. Like, we just get together and start talking. Now, what I'm kind of not speaking of, but this is good. Andrew's talking about fishing.
Yeah.
Which is good, because for 2 years, no one's talked about fishing. We talked about tournaments, right? Bass, MLF. Last year was NPFL. It was the split up. It was the divorce of fishing. MLF might ruin it all. Other people were like, MLF's going to take over the entire thing. I mean, it was all, fishing was kind of put on the back burner for 2 years because it was like this drama, right? It was this like family drama at Christmas, right? Where you had all these freaking weird cousins showing up, or maybe it was a death, maybe it was a funeral where you got random people showing up, and money was being talked about, and
oh yeah,
it was just a weird deal. And fishing was always kind of like secondary to it all. And I think we're close to getting back to fishing, right? There shouldn't be any drama within the organizations. Like, everyone, good or bad, everyone was like, all right, they're here to stay. They're here to stay. NPFL, I guess, I hope, is here to stay. I mean, I don't like,
Well, I know they canceled their first 2 days of their event. I don't know how they're gonna work that out.
Oh gosh, yeah, I heard the weather's horrible.
Yeah,
that's no big deal.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, they didn't cancel it for any other reason other than
right. I mean, they
terrible.
canceled the Toyota, the Tackle Warehouse on Rayburn one day. We had that.
Well, they moved the Bass Pro Tour. They were supposed to be fishing today, to tomorrow,
Yeah.
and they shortened yesterday to like 2 periods instead of 3. So I mean,
Yeah.
we always have those
Yeah,
adjustments.
Brandon Belt tournament we got canceled today, and if I know y'all might not know what that is, but when you start giving away $100,000 for first place in a team event, maybe you should pay attention to that. So
Yeah.
the Brandon Belt deal got canceled today. I mean, just bad weather, but now we've got like all the live scopes going on with every single one of them's got one of those. Where that's going with fishing, um, and it didn't really play out on the first 2 events that big of a deal, but I think it's playing out on Fork. It's gonna play out at the Classic, right?
I think
So
so, 100%. I mean,
100%.
it got but and I don't even think I think if it hadn't been such a big deal and everybody put so much emphasis on it, I don't and I know that sounds really weird, but, like, I think you would see a lot of guys at Hartwell really approach it a little bit differently and fish it a little bit more traditional. But now, guys, it reminds me a lot of when the umbrella rig came onto the scene, like, really heavy. I
You were
remember when
scared. You were
you were
scared not
yeah,
to throw it.
you had to go spend at least a day in practice throwing the umbrella rig just to eliminate it.
Yep.
It wasn't necessarily because you were like, "Man, I'm gonna go crush them on it." You had to eliminate it just to keep a peace of mind. And right now, guys are having to approach practice of tournaments and even tournaments in general and saying, "You know what? I got to spend at least 1 full day, if not 2 full days, just live scoping or using forward facing sonar just to make sure I don't miss the boat."
Did Scott Martin, um, did he sight fish at all in practice for Harris Chain?
Not at all.
No, he didn't. I was gonna say sight fishing is usually one of he didn't even like go try it.
So I talked to Scott.
You
So,
know where I'm
we,
going with this. It's
yeah,
right
yeah,
what you
yeah, yeah,
said. Like, if you're a sight fisherman, you have to go try it one day of practice.
yeah.
Or like same thing with like you got to go and now you kind of like if they're not on it, you just wasted a full day.
Well, I'm actually really proud of Scott. So, like, I called Scott after his practice. I didn't call him during practice. I try not to. Sometimes he'll call me during practice just to, we get bored out there or something. But I called him after practice and he told me he did not spend one single minute looking at fish on beds
Okay.
because he felt like that's what everybody would be doing just because of how the conditions lined up. And it's burned him in the past on the Harris chain before. And so he was like, you know what? I went flipping. I went and put a big stick in my hand the entire practice. And I'm like, kudos to him because
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing: Harris chain will suck you in sight fishing. I mean, it just does. Like, you will see big ones. You will see a lot of fish. You will see a lot of beds. There's a lot of water you can cover. It's a very fertile place for sight fishing. Very conducive to it. Like, you can do it all over the place, and so it's hard. It every time I go there, if there's a sight by going on, that's what I'm probably doing. I
Right.
mean, just what it is.
Well,
So
yeah, that's the only reason I ask. 'Cause like you said, I kind of wonder with Garmin just came out with their new like I guess like before it was like side imaging, right? And a better side imaging, and then better 360s and more this. And then it was like the first live scope, and now active target, and now it's like gone and it's getting
there's going to
I
hit a
don't know.
breaking point. I mean, truthfully,
Well, I mean,
uh,
I did a video and I'm not knocking anything. I'm not going down that road again. I'm just saying, like, where we I wonder what this year is gonna be. I wonder if this year is going to and what I mean by that is every year we seem to there's a direction it goes, right?
yeah.
And it's like the big hot topic. I don't know what this year. It seems like all that drama got put aside and everything else. Is this year going to be just about fishing? Maybe.
No,
No.
no, I no, and the problem is with the overwhelming influence of social media and things like that, and everybody has an opinion, and which is great. I
That's
mean,
true.
that's we this fishing industry is going to continue to evolve, and not necessarily evolve in a good way or bad way. It just continues to evolve all the time, so therefore there's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be people who disagree with no matter what you do. Whenever the big split happened, there was umbrella rig controversy. There is uh now there's the whole forward facing sonar. I mean, I remember when side imaging was around, like people were still saying, "Is this too good? Like, is this something we should have?" And then it kind of went to down imaging, and now it's forward imaging. Now it's there was 360 imaging. It's going to get to a point, we're all going to hit a point when it comes to technology, for instance, where there is going to be too much. And I'm not saying that we're at that point yet, and we might not ever even see it in the next 5 years. But there is going to be a point where these electronics companies come out with something that is just going to be so ridiculous that fishing is going to be more obsolete. Now, there's a lot of old timers. I've seen guys on Facebook all over the place lately talking about we might as well just, and I'm going to quote somebody, and he's a friend of mine, and this isn't a knock to him, but Bud Pruitt said we should make a PlayStation game of live scope because it's not even fishing anymore. I can just play it on a video game. And it is a little bit more complicated than that. Not everybody can do it. It still takes a little talent. It takes time on the water. For instance, and this is a very good example. Josh Jones just caught another 14 and a half pounder yesterday off OHIV using forward facing sonar. I think he was using active target. That guy has now caught 5 fish over 14 pounds in the last, 2 months or however long it's been, or maybe ever. I don't even know. I can't keep up with all the big fish that guy catches. But my point to this is that guy has stayed on the water every day. He's basically lived at OHIV for the last month and a half. Lived there, fished every day. If Todd did that, if I did that, we'd be divorced. Like, it wouldn't, there's no question about it. He's not catching a 14 pounder every single day. He's literally fishing daylight to dark, targeting one fish. It's no different than what Butch Brown did out west, going and spending all that time throwing big swim baits when nobody had big swim baits and catching those teener fish, 16, 18 pounders, whatever he used to catch, and still probably catches.
I don't know why, man. I wish you hadn't gone down this road.
I can't help it, man. Like, the fact
So
is that there's always evolution of things. Like, if it's not this today, tomorrow it's going to be something else. And I'm not saying this for Bud's sake. It's seriously only about the fact that there's going to be evolution of this sport. There's going to be new baits, bigger baits, better rods, better reels. I can remember reels that we fished with even just 10 years ago. In comparison to what we have now, it's not even comparable. Fishing rods, you can go buy a $99 fishing rod right now, and it's as good as one that you bought 10 years ago that was $399. Like, it's good.
I'll bring up two things, and maybe this is all we need to talk about today before I go. So you brought in that what Bud said, and I get it, because I was kind of like that with the Alabama rig, and still believe that to be true with the Alabama rig. No, you can't just go throw it anywhere. Kind of. You kind of can. I still believe you kind of can. But the one thing I'll say is every single person, okay, 99, I don't know, maybe one of them doesn't. But would you agree that every single person in MLF right now in Lake Fork has it?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
How many guys didn't catch more than 2 or 3 fish?
Oh, there's guys zeroed.
Yeah. So
I mean,
it's Fork, guys. You could drop me on Lake Fork. I never start my engine, and I'll find one on live scope. I'll find a fish to throw at. You can cover 5 miles with your trolling motor on high if you wanted to. My point being is you're going to be around a fish to throw at. So it's Lake Fork. It's not like some of these other lakes that are like Red River.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sorry, I had to. But so there's still some stuff that goes along with it. What I'll say about the Josh Jones thing is, and I don't really follow or pay attention or anything else like that. You brought up social media and all this stuff, and maybe I'm the old man, telling you to get off my lawn. People look at social media and this stuff differently, I guess, than I did. And even to this day, I do a bunch of YouTube stuff. We both do. We don't put everything out there on YouTube.
No.
I'm being like, y'all know,
no.
I'm 100% always honest with y'all. I don't put everything out there on YouTube. There are places that I take my kids I just did a social media post about like having a bunch of crappie. Crappie's not a big deal, right? But I enjoyed taking my kids. They had a day off because of President's Day, and we went fishing and caught a whole bunch of crappie. Um, I wanted to do that where it was just me and my kids, right? I didn't want 50 other boats out there all in my way where we catch 10 crappie, not a bunch. Like I still want to go do things like me and you still want to go fish somewhere and have it like and crush on them. Like it's not fun working. Like we work enough trying to catch 5 fish in these horrible tournaments. Sometimes we want to go have some fun and go fun fishing. So we keep a lot of that stuff, certain things under the wraps or whatever. And I had lakes when I was really into fishing. Like I said, when I say into fishing, when I would go all the time, like days upon days upon days of just fun fishing. And we had lakes where we were catching 10 pounders every day. Every day. We never made a post about it. We never talked about it. We took pictures. No one ever saw them. We wanted, and we had them for years, and we were able to go catch multiple 10 pounders a day, 12 pounders. Well, I mean, giants. We never turned them in. We caught them.
Yeah.
And to this day, like I always look at and I want to say that by saying this. I grew up on Livingston. I never caught a 9-pounder for like the first 9 years of my life. Like I thought a 10-pounder was like, I didn't even know of one even ever being caught on Livingston. And then my first trip to Lake Nack with this older gentleman, I was just barely in college. I caught a 960 or 70 or something. And it was like my biggest fish ever on the first time I ever went to Lake Nack. Well, it wasn't because I was a better fisherman all of a sudden. It was because I lived on a place that had 9-pounders, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It obviously has 15 pounders in it too. But what I'm saying is I can't catch a 10-pounder on Livingston because Livingston didn't grow 10 pounders. And that's what I'll say about some of these places. They look at these places or these guys catching these 10 pounders as, I think guys now like keep track of all their 10 pounders.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I've never even thought about doing that. But I've luckily enough to live around places where you can catch a bunch of 10 pounders. Right now, you're right. If you went to OHIV, I'm not saying I would catch a 14, but you have a lot better chance when they were growing that many 14 pounders. I'm not taking anything away from what he's doing. What I'm saying is
I mean, yeah, because and I will preface this. This isn't a knock at Josh Jones. It's a fact that like he's working his butt off to go catch these fish. But the thing is he's putting himself on a place that has an immense population of 13 plus pound bass. I can promise you, without a shadow of a doubt, what to kind of piggyback off what Todd's saying. If we release Josh Jones, and I'm just saying hypothetically speaking, somebody that's working hard for a month straight, if we released him out on Sam Rayburn right now for the exact same amount of time for a month straight, fishing as hard as he would not catch 5 14-pounders.
I don't know if he'd catch one.
And no, he wouldn't catch one. He might catch a 10.
He'd catch 10, yes. If you,
but he's not going to catch 5 14s.
No,
like it's just not happening.
No.
But that's kind of like what he's talking about.
Well, it's a perfect scenario. Like I said, we had these lakes, and we knew certain lakes, like no matter what, you spend that much time on them, you figured out not necessarily where they live, but how to catch them, all these different things. When Toledo, dude, I can't tell you how much when Toledo was rocking and rolling, right? So it's on my wall. I've got a 12-pounder there. I've got another 11-pound. I mean, replicas. I can't tell you how many 10-pounders.
Yeah, he didn't eat them. Those are replicas.
Oh, replicas. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. On Toledo Bend, they have a deal. If you catch one over 10 pounds and you take it up to there and they certify it, the only way they'll give you a replica is if it's released live. So they put it on you that you have to take such good care of it. Even when you bring it up there to them, you give it to them, they put it in a tank and they go release it. Only then, if they release it live, will you get a replica, because they don't want you running around holding up 10, taking 42 pictures and showing it to all your buddies at the, So I caught like a 1260 and 11.3. But I can't tell you how many 10-pounders I shook off practicing for events on beds and stuff like that. And we caught some in the tournaments as well, but those same fish. But it was a 10-pounder at Toledo for a while was not a big deal.
That really wasn't.
And I mean, that's a cool, like, hey, like I said, we're not knocking Toledo. That's the best thing in the world. Like OH Ivy knocking out 14-pounders is awesome.
Oh yeah. If it was closer, I think we'd both be fishing at some. Like,
oh, I'm
you know,
going. I'm going. I've never been. I'm going, but me personally, would I be like really going off on it? Like,
I hate that there's been so much publicity on it because I do
yeah,
think it's ruined the lake to a certain level. Now, granted, the businesses around the lake are
yeah.
booming, and that's great for their economy, but it definitely has put a damper on the industry.
It's a small lake. When I brought up Toledo Bend because it was the number one lake in the country, it's still the only lake in the country, or one of them, that I think no matter how many people you put on Toledo, I don't think you could have heard it at the time. It's
No,
just
you
so
couldn't
big.
at the time. No, not at
At the
all.
time when it, like, the grass was everywhere. Like OH Ivy
Yeah,
doesn't have that, and it's small. The only, I guess, good thing is where it's located.
yeah. It is out in the middle of nowhere.
It's kind of, yeah, out there,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna. I think in the next month we're gonna see a big turning point in fishing, and I think it's gonna grab a hold of something. I don't know what that is yet, and it's gonna, like, we're gonna go off on down this rabbit hole, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna have
I
to deal
mean,
with that for the rest of the year.
if you look at history of the sport, like there's always been that rabbit hole thing. There's always going to be drama. There's always going to be drama created. Uh,
I
and
just hope
there's
that
always going to be people who disagree with what's going on.
everything I say.
Oh yeah. Well, I disagree with a lot of what you say. I'm just kidding. No, it's very interesting. I'm curious to see what happens. If I had to make a bet, I would say the rabbit hole is good right now. If I had to bet on it, would be technology.
Yep.
Um, but or maybe the abundance of technology or too much technology. That's going to be the big argument this year.
I think in prices.
Yeah, I do think prices about to start getting very competitive and lower. I will say
Oh,
that.
because with gas and boats and everything else like
Oh
that,
yeah, it's
none
all
of
just
that's going
skyrocketing.
down. That's
No,
skyrocketing.
but see, the deal is like I think they're going to be able to keep prices for forward facing sonar. It's going to hit a point with forward facing sonar, and all three brands have it right now. You got Garmin, you got Orantan, you got Humminbird, all have it. The competition is great because it's going to drive prices down. Now inflation is going to drive prices up. You're going to have the best of both worlds there, though. More than anything, it'll probably keep prices about what they are right now. But in relation to other things in this industry, it's going to be lower because it's not driven up as high as other things.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be competitive. I think eventually prices will drop down on forward facing sonar just because there's going to be more. But in my opinion, within the next 2 years, we're going to have technology that when you look out on in front of your boat, you're going to see exactly what's there. And I'm saying like what's there. And I'm not saying just like some little sonar feed. I honestly think they're going to get to a point where they're going to be able to like it's going to be live image of the fish, like not a dot, not any of that stuff, like the shape of the bass, and you can say, well, that's a 4-pounder, you know.
I don't want to go. This is for, hey, for next week. For next week, and we'll end it right here. This is my question. Do you think we will, not a professional event, do you think there will be a circuit that comes out there that says no electronics?
Nope. You know why?
Any circuit? No, like mom and pops or any circuit. Like
There might be, but the problem is you don't ever want to move too far backwards, and I feel like that's going like because then guys are going to argue, and I'm not going to spoil it, but guys are going to argue that why should this technology be banned and that technology not be banned, and you kind of get into this like this. It's a real gray area.
okay, so they have rattle trap tournament. You've been a part of that,
Yep.
like rattle trap tournaments where you can only use rattle traps, right?
Correct. Yep.
Strike King I think is now putting on Strike King.
They're big bass events. Yeah.
Okay. So you're telling me that there's not going to be an event where guys knowingly say, hey, no electronics.
See, but then you run into the safety hat. Like there's a safety aspect of things, like having mapping and sonar. You're gonna have more liability as far as people running aground. Like there's a lot of that kind of.
Man,
I mean, but that's the truth.
man, there's enough of that. Like that ain't
I mean,
fixes. That don't fix
yeah,
stupidity, anyways. Because
right.
oh my gosh, I got two things that I have to show you off air that I bet you don't even know about. I bet you don't even
Gosh.
know about.
I did see one at your Rayburn tournament, but which was pretty funny.
There's two.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, Todd, thanks for having me on, buddy.
Yeah,
I know you are going to enjoy next week's talk about this because
yeah.
we're
Let's
going
do
to
this.
dive deep into it. Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
All right,
See
buddy.
y'all.
We'll see you.